This morning, talking to my wife about the great command, the greatest command, that when they asked Jesus, and he said, the greatest command is, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. That's not the command, here's the command. And you shall love him with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. And you love your neighbor as yourself. And I taught that for years. And I've heard it for church, obviously, in years. And if you're in church, you probably heard it many, many times. You say, okay, yeah. So all I got to do is just love God with all my heart, soul, and strength. And I just wanted you to really think about that. Really think about that with all of your heart. Just start with that one right there, with all of your heart. With all of your heart. All of it. Do we even take this stuff seriously? With all of your heart. That means all of your heart. You love him completely. Every single part of your heart is occupied with loving the Lord. Do you have any love for, I don't know, movies, TV, your video games, your spouse, your kids, your brothers, your friends? Do you have any love for them? You just failed. You just failed it. With all your soul, we still debate what the soul is. And people are commanded by God to love their God with all of their soul, with all your soul, it's with all your being, with all your the eternal part of you, the part that's going to be here even when your body is gone. You are to love him with all of that, 100%. I don't even know if that's something you can control. I mean, obviously you can't control your heart. It loves what it loves. And the Bible tells us it's wicked and beyond measure. And who can know it? And yet, he was telling us to love him with all of that, with that wicked thing that is in us that we have. And I think it's time to start really considering what he was really saying and who he was saying it to. Because I teach that, you got to know who he's talking to. He's talking about prideful people who thought they could obey God perfectly. The Pharisees and the people who looked up to the Pharisees and believed that they were actually holy people and they were actually doing these things. So he just exaggerated, he just turbocharged it, he just made it clear, hey, here I am, I'm God, just love me perfectly. That's all you got to do and everything will be okay. And so I can see now clearly that's obviously not what it was. He was showing us what we can't do. He's trying to bring us to the end of ourselves so that those of us would sincerely try that and really try with all our heart and be honest with ourselves to love him with all our heart, with all our soul, with all our strength, and finally realize, wow, that's impossible. I can't do that. I need mercy. But yet here we are 2,000 years later, and still 90 some odd percent of the Christian church still is following these commands and trying to obey them. Impossible commands. They still haven't gotten it. And I just want you to ask you to think about that. You were taught that, and maybe you're a teacher and you teach that yourself. Be honest with yourself. Is there ever going to come a day where you will love your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul? I didn't even get to your strength. With all of your strength, really? Paul said that his strength is made perfect in our weakness. So you might say, well, that just means, his grace is going to cover the difference. I'm going to do all I can and then his grace. Well, I'm sorry, but that's a lie if you believe that. Grace has nothing to do with help where you lack. Because if that's the truth, the stronger you get, guess what? The less you need Jesus. You only need his grace where you lack, right? Because you're so good, you're so perfect. Maybe you used to be 50%, but now you're 60, and tomorrow you'll be 80, and then 90, and then you only need 10% of Jesus. No, he was not teaching us to love him perfectly. He was teaching us to try until we realize that's utter vanity, that's utter failure, that's utter hopelessness. And not only that, it was the old covenant, and the only return in it was a temporal, carnal, physical blessing. Now he offers something much greater, which is himself. Throw yourself in his mercy, receive his love, receive his heart, receive his soul, receive his strength. It's not about you, it's not about me, it's not about us, it's about him. You can't do it, folks. You're never going to do it. You're never, ever going to be able to do it. And he wasn't planning on or expecting you to. That's why no one ever did, except he himself, God in the flesh, the God the man who God became was the only one who did it. So just think about that. You can't love God with all your heart. You can't love him with all your soul. He's not a cruel God. He wouldn't command you to do something you can't do, except he knows how stubborn you are. We're all stubborn. We all think we can do it, but you can't. Just give up and throw yourself on his mercy. In Jesus' name.